The morning sun rose over Neosol, painting the tall buildings in shades of orange and gold. Park Tiho walked slowly through the busy streets, his old work bag hanging from his shoulder. He was tired. He was always tired these days. 3 years had passed since the aliens came. The Dravari, they called themselves, dragon people from the stars. They were tall and powerful, with scales that shone like jewels and eyes that burned like fire. Most humans feared them. Some hated them. But Tiho did not think about them much. He had other things to worry about. His wife had died 2 years ago. Cancer took her away in just 6 months. Now Tiho raised their daughter alone. Her name was Hana, and she was 7 years old. She had her mother's smile and her father's stubborn heart. Tiho worked as a mechanic in a small shop near the old market. The pay was not good, but it was honest work. Every morning he woke up at 5, made breakfast for Hana, packed her lunch, and walked her to school. Then he went to work until evening. After work he picked her up, made dinner, helped with homework, and put her to bed. Then he did it all again the next day. It was a simple life, a hard life, but Tiho never complained. Today was like any other day. He had finished the morning rush and now had 30 minutes for lunch. In his bag he carried 2 sandwiches wrapped in paper. One was for himself. The other was extra, just in case Hana forgot her lunch at school. He always kept one ready. A father had to be prepared. Tiho walked to the small park near his workplace. It was a quiet place with old trees and a stone fountain in the center. He liked to sit on the bench there and eat in peace. The sound of water helped him forget his troubles, even if just for a few minutes. But today, something was different. As Tiho approached the fountain, he heard a sound. It was soft and quiet, almost hidden by the splashing water, but he heard it clearly. It was the sound of crying. He stopped and looked around. At first he saw nothing. Then he noticed a small figure hiding behind the fountain. It was a child, curled up with knees pressed to chest, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. But this was no human child. The girl had skin covered in soft violet scales that caught the light like tiny mirrors. 2 small horn buds grew from her forehead, barely bigger than fingernails. Behind her back, a pair of small wings lay folded tight against her body. She wore a simple white dress, now dirty from sitting on the ground. A Dravari child, here alone crying in a human park. Tiho looked around. People walked past without stopping. Some glanced at the crying alien girl and quickly looked away. Others pretended not to see her at all. A few mothers pulled their children closer and walked faster. No one helped. Tiho stood there for a long moment. He knew he should probably leave too. The Dravari were powerful and proud. Getting involved with them could bring trouble. What if her parents thought he had hurt her? What if guards came and blamed him? But then he heard her sob again, and something in his chest hurt. She was just a child, a scared, crying child. Hana cried like that sometimes when she missed her mother or when the other kids at school were mean. In those moments, all Hana needed was for someone to sit with her, to be kind, to show her she was not alone. How could he walk away? Tiho took a deep breath and slowly walked toward the fountain. He moved carefully, not wanting to scare her. When he was close enough, he sat down on the ground a few feet away from her. The stone was cold, but he did not mind. The girl looked up with wide golden eyes. Tears ran down her scaled cheeks. She pressed herself against the fountain, afraid. Tiho smiled gently. He did not speak right away. Instead, he reached into his bag and pulled out one of his sandwiches. He unwrapped it slowly and broke it in half. Then he held out one half toward the girl. She stared at the food, then at him, confusion clear on her small face. Tiho pointed at the sandwich, then at her. "For you," he said simply, "you look hungry." The girl did not move. She watched him like a small animal watching a predator. But Tiho did not push. He simply placed the sandwich half on a clean napkin and set it on the ground between them. Then he took a bite of his own half and began to eat. For a long time, nothing happened. Tiho ate slowly, looking at the fountain, giving the girl space. He did not stare at her. He did not ask questions. He just sat there, calm and quiet, eating his lunch like it was the most normal thing in the world. After several minutes, he heard movement. From the corner of his eye, he saw the girl slowly reach out. Her small clawed hand took the sandwich. She sniffed it carefully, then took a tiny bite. Her eyes widened. She took another bite, bigger this time. Tiho smiled but said nothing. The girl finished the sandwich quickly. When it was gone, she looked at him with new eyes. The fear was still there, but something else too, something like hope. "Are you lost?" Tiho asked softly. The girl hesitated, then nodded. "Can you speak Korean?" She nodded again, slower this time. "A little," she said. Her voice was quiet and rough from crying. "What is your name?" She paused for a long moment. "Yira," she finally said. "Hello, Yira, my name is Tiho." He pointed at himself. "I have a daughter, her name is Hana. She is about your age, I think. She cries sometimes too when she is scared." Yira's golden eyes watched him carefully. "It is okay to cry," Tiho continued. "Everyone cries sometimes, even grown-ups, even fathers like me." He smiled again, warm and kind. "Do you know where your family is?" Yira shook her head. Fresh tears filled her eyes. "I was with my teacher. There were many people. I saw a bird, a pretty one. I followed it. Then I could not find her anymore." Her voice broke. "I am scared. I want my mother." Tiho's heart ached. He thought of Hana, of how frightened she would be if she got lost alone in a strange place. "Do not worry," he said gently. "We will find your family. I will help you." Yira looked at him with wonder. "Why?" she asked. "You do not know me. I am not human." Tiho tilted his head, thinking about her question. Then he shrugged. "You are a child," he said simply. "A child who is scared and alone. That is enough reason to help." He stood up slowly and offered his hand to her. "Come, the Dravari embassy is not far from here. Let us take you there." Yira stared at his hand for a long moment. Then, slowly, carefully, she reached out and took it. Her small clawed fingers wrapped around his calloused palm. Neither of them noticed the tall figure standing in the shadow of a nearby tree. She was hidden behind a shimmer of light that bent the air around her like heat rising from summer roads. Her scales were deep purple, almost black, and a crown of silver horns rose from her head. Her golden eyes watched every movement, every word, every small kindness. Queen Velhari of the Dravari Empire had been searching for her daughter for over an hour. Her guards had spread across the city, ready to tear it apart if needed. But she had found Yira first, following her daughter's scent to this small park. She had been about to reveal herself when the human man approached. Her first instinct was to attack, to protect her child. But something made her stop. Something made her watch. And what she saw confused her. In all her 300 years of life, Velhari had never seen anything like this. A stranger giving his food to someone he did not know, sitting in the cold to comfort a crying child, offering help without asking for anything in return. Among her people, such behavior was unthinkable. Power was everything. Kindness was weakness. You helped only those who could help you back. That was the way of the Dravari. But this tired, poor human man broke every rule she knew. Velhari stayed hidden as Tiho led Yira toward the park exit. Her guards would intercept them soon. There was no danger, but the queen did not call for them yet. She wanted to see more. She wanted to understand. What kind of creature gives away his only meal to a stranger's child? What kind of fool shows such kindness without expecting reward? As she watched the human walk away with her daughter, Queen Velhari felt something strange stir in her ancient heart. Something she could not name. Something that would change everything. Tiho walked slowly through the crowded streets, holding Yira's small hand in his own. People stared at them. Some pointed. Others whispered to each other. A human man walking with a Dravari child was not something you saw every day. But Tiho did not care about the stairs. He kept his eyes forward and his pace steady. Yira stayed close to his side, her small wings pressed tight against her back. "Are you still scared?" Tiho asked gently. Yira nodded, her golden eyes looking at the ground. "That is okay," Tiho said. "Being scared is normal. My daughter Hana gets scared too. She is afraid of thunder. Every time there is a storm, she runs to my room and hides under my blanket." Yira looked up at him. "What do you do?" Tiho smiled. "I tell her stories, I make her warm milk, I hold her until the storm passes." He paused. "Sometimes the storm takes a long time, but I stay with her. That is what fathers do." Yira was quiet for a moment. "My mother does not do that," she said softly. "She says a princess must not be afraid. Fear is weakness." Tiho thought about this. "I think fear is not weakness," he said. "Fear means you care about something, about staying alive, about keeping safe. Even the bravest people feel fear. The difference is what they do with it." "What do you mean?" "A coward lets fear control them. They run away or hide or give up. But a brave person feels the fear and keeps going anyway. They do what needs to be done, even when they are scared." He looked down at her. "You are brave, Yira." "Me?" Yira's eyes widened. "I am not brave, I was crying." "You were lost and alone in a strange city. Anyone would cry, but you did not give up. You waited, you trusted a stranger. That takes courage." Tiho squeezed her hand gently. "Never be ashamed of your tears." Yira stared at him with a look Tiho could not understand. It was as if no one had ever spoken to her this way before. Behind them, hidden in the shimmer field that bent light around her body, Queen Velhari followed. She walked through the crowd like a ghost, unseen and unheard. Her guards moved silently in the shadows, waiting for her command. But she did not give it. She was listening. Every word the human spoke burned into her mind. Fear is not weakness. Never be ashamed of your tears. A brave person feels the fear and keeps going anyway. Strange words, dangerous words, words that went against everything the Dravari believed. Velhari thought of her own childhood over 200 years ago. She had been raised in the imperial palace, surrounded by tutors and guards and servants, but never by love. Her mother, the previous queen, had been cold and hard. She taught Velhari that power was the only truth. Kindness was a trap. Trust was a weapon enemies used against you. When Velhari cried as a child, she was punished. When she showed fear, she was shamed. She learned to hide her feelings behind a mask of ice. She became strong, ruthless, perfect, a true queen. But sometimes, late at night, when the palace was silent and dark, Velhari still felt like that scared little girl. She still wanted someone to hold her, to tell her everything would be okay. She had buried that part of herself deep inside, but it never truly died. And now, watching this human father comfort her daughter with simple words and gentle kindness, something in that buried part began to stir. Tiho stopped at a street corner looking at the signs. "The embassy should be this way," he said, pointing down a wide avenue. "Maybe 10 more minutes of walking. Are your feet tired?" Yira shook her head, but Tiho noticed she was moving slower than before. He looked around and saw a small bench near a shop. "Let us rest for a moment," he said. "I am the one who is tired. My old legs are not what they used to be." They sat on the bench together. Tiho reached into his bag and pulled out a small bottle of water. He opened it and offered it to Yira first. She took a drink, then handed it back. "Thank you." "You are welcome." They sat in comfortable silence for a while. People passed by, some still staring, but neither of them paid attention. "Tiho," Yira said quietly. "Yes." "Why did you help me? You do not know me, my people. We are not always nice to humans." Tiho was quiet for a moment. He looked up at the sky, thinking. "When I was young," he said, "my mother told me something. She said the measure of a person is not how they treat the powerful, but how they treat the weak. Anyone can be kind to a king. It is easy to be nice when you want something in return, but to help someone who cannot help you back, someone who is scared and small and has nothing to offer, that is true kindness. He looked at Yira. I do not help you because of what you are. I help you because of who I am. If I walked away from a crying child, I could not call myself a good man. I could not face my daughter. I could not look at myself in the mirror. Yira's eyes were wide. Your mother sounds wise. Tiho smiled sadly. She was. She died many years ago, but I remember her words every day. He paused. And my wife, she was kind too, very kind. She would have done the same thing I did today. She would have sat with you and given you her food and made sure you were safe. Where is she now? The question was innocent, but it hit Tiho like a stone. He took a slow breath. She passed away 2 years ago. Sickness took her. Yira's face fell. I am sorry. It is okay. Death is part of life. I miss her every day, but I know she would want me to keep going, to take care of our daughter, to be a good father. He smiled gently. That is what I try to do. From the shadows, Velhari watched her daughter reach out and touch the human's hand. A simple gesture of comfort. Such a small thing, yet it made Velhari's chest tight. When had anyone ever offered comfort to her? When had anyone ever sat with her in her pain? She remembered her husband, the king. He had died in battle 50 years ago. She had stood at his funeral with a face of stone, showing no tears, no grief. Her people praised her strength. They called her the Iron Queen. But inside she had been screaming. Tiho, Yira asked, if your wife is gone, who takes care of you when you are sad? Tiho laughed softly. It was not a happy laugh, but not a sad one either. My daughter, I suppose. She hugs me sometimes and tells me not to be sad. Children are very wise that way. They know when someone needs love, even if they do not understand why. And that is enough. Tiho nodded. It is enough. Love does not have to be complicated. It can be a hug, a smile, a sandwich shared with someone who is hungry. Small things can carry great meaning. He stood up and offered his hand again. Come, let us get you home before your family worries too much. Yira took his hand and stood. As they began walking again, she said something quiet, almost too soft to hear. I wish you were my father. Tiho stopped. He looked down at her, surprised. Then his face softened into a kind smile. I am sure your real father is a good man, and your mother too. They will be very happy to see you safe. Yira did not answer. She just held his hand tighter and kept walking. In the shadows, Queen Velhari felt something break inside her. Not break like glass, sharp and painful, but break like ice in spring, melting into water flowing free. Her daughter wished this human was her father. Velhari knew why. She knew exactly why, because she had never given Yira what this man gave in 30 minutes. Patience, warmth, simple, unconditional kindness. The queen had given her daughter everything else. The finest teachers, the best food, the softest clothes. Guards to protect her, servants to attend her, a palace full of treasures. But she had never sat with Yira when she cried. She had never told her that fear was okay, that tears were not weakness, that being scared did not mean being broken. She had raised her daughter the way she herself had been raised, with power, discipline, and distance. And in doing so, she had failed her. Velhari followed them for another block, then stopped. She could not hide any longer. She could not pretend she had not seen what she had seen. This human had shown her something important, something she needed to understand. She sent a silent message to her guards, stand down, do not interfere. Then she dropped her shimmer field and stepped into the light. The crowd gasped, people stumbled backward, some fell to their knees, others ran. Queen Velhari of the Dravari Empire stood in the middle of a human street, her silver crown catching the sun, her purple scales shining like dark jewels. She was over 7 feet tall, beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. But her eyes were not on the crowd. Her eyes were on the tired human man who stood frozen, still holding her daughter's hand. And in those ancient golden eyes, there was something new. Something like wonder. Tiho felt his heart stop. One moment the street was normal. People walking, cars passing, birds singing in the trees. The next moment, the air shimmered like heat rising from summer pavement, and a figure appeared from nothing. She was tall, so tall that Tiho had to look up to see her face. Her body was covered in deep purple scales that seemed to drink the light. A crown of silver horns rose from her head like frozen flames. Her eyes were golden, bright as the sun, and they looked straight at him. Guards appeared around her. 6 of them, each one massive and armored, their weapons glowing with strange energy. They formed a circle around the queen, facing outward, ready to kill. The crowd scattered. People screamed and ran. Some fell over each other in their panic. In seconds, the street was empty except for Tiho, Yira, and the Dravari. Tiho could not move. His legs felt like stone. His hand still held Yira's, but his fingers were cold and numb. He was going to die, he was sure of it. He had touched the princess. He had led her through the streets. They would think he had taken her, hurt her, threatened her. They would kill him before he could explain. He thought of Hana, who would take care of her, who would pack her lunch and walk her to school, who would hold her during thunderstorms. I am sorry, my daughter, he thought. I am so sorry. But then Yira pulled her hand free and ran toward the terrifying figure. Mother, she cried out. Mother, I was so scared. The queen knelt down and caught her daughter in her arms. For a moment, just a brief moment, the cold mask on her face cracked. Tiho saw relief there, and love, and something that might have been tears. Then the mask returned. Queen Velhari stood, Yira in her arms, and turned her golden gaze on Tiho. The guards moved closer, their weapons raised. One of them spoke in a deep, rumbling voice. Your Majesty, this human was found with the princess. He may be responsible for her disappearance. Give us the order and we will end him. Tiho closed his eyes. This is it, he thought. This is how I die. But the order did not come. Instead, he heard Yira's voice, high and clear. No, do not hurt him. He helped me, mother. He gave me food when I was hungry. He comforted me when I was crying. He was bringing me back. He is good. He is kind. Please do not hurt him. Tiho opened his eyes. The queen was looking at him with an expression he could not read. The guards still had their weapons pointed at his chest, but they had not fired. They were waiting. Is this true? The queen asked. Her voice was deep and musical like bells made of thunder. Tiho found his voice. It came out rough and shaky, but he spoke anyway. Yes, your Majesty, I found her crying by the fountain in the park. She was lost and scared. I gave her half my sandwich and walked with her toward the embassy. I only wanted to help her get home safely. I meant no harm. The queen studied him for a long moment. Her eyes seemed to look through him, into him, seeing everything he was and everything he had ever been. Then she did something that made Tiho's mind go blank. She knelt. The queen of the Dravari Empire, ruler of 1,000 worlds, knelt on the dirty human street. Her guards stared in shock. One of them made a strangled noise of disbelief. Even Yira looked confused, her golden eyes wide. Velhari spoke, and her voice was different now, softer, almost humble. I saw what you did, she said. I was there in the park, hidden from sight. I watched you approach my daughter when everyone else walked away. I watched you share your meal with her. I heard every word you spoke. Tiho could not speak. He could barely breathe. You did not know who she was, the queen continued. You did not know I was watching. You had nothing to gain and everything to lose. Yet you helped her anyway, a stranger, an alien, a child who was not your own. She looked up at him, and for the first time, Tiho saw something human in those ancient eyes. In 300 years of life, Velhari said, I have never seen such kindness. Among my people, we do not help without reward. We do not show warmth to strangers. We believe that kindness is weakness, that compassion is a trap for fools." She paused. "But you have shown me that everything I believed may be wrong." She stood slowly, her crown catching the light. "Tell me your name." "Park Tiho, Your Majesty." "Park Tiho." She said his name carefully, as if testing the weight of each syllable. "You have done something rare today. You have shown my daughter the meaning of true kindness. For that, I owe you a debt that cannot be measured." She gestured to her guards. "Lower your weapons. This man is not a threat. He is a guest of the throne." The guards obeyed instantly, their weapons powering down with soft hums, but their faces showed confusion. This was not how things were done. This was not how their queen behaved. Velhari turned back to Tiho. "Name your reward, Park Tiho. Credits, property, status, protection. Anything within my power to give is yours." Tiho's mouth went dry. Credits, status. He could ask for enough money to never work again. He could ask for a new home, a better life for Hana, everything he had ever dreamed of. But as he looked at the queen, at Yira still held in her arms, he found that he did not want any of those things. "Your Majesty," he said slowly, "I thank you for your offer, but I did not help your daughter for reward. I helped her because she was crying and scared and needed someone to care." He bowed his head. "I do not want money or power. I only ask one thing." "Name it." Tiho looked at Yira. "Please take care of her. Make sure she gets home safe. Children should not cry alone." Silence fell over the street. Queen Velhari stared at him for a long moment. Her guards stared too, their expressions unreadable. Even Yira was quiet, watching Tiho with her golden eyes. Then slowly a smile appeared on the queen's face. It was small, just a slight curve of her lips, but it transformed her. For a moment she did not look like an alien empress. She looked like a mother. "Park Tiho," she said, "you are either the wisest or the most foolish human I have ever met, perhaps both." She stepped closer and placed a hand on his shoulder. Her touch was warm, not cold like he expected. "Your wish is granted, and whether you accept it or not, you have earned my gratitude and my respect." She turned to leave, then stopped. "We will meet again, Park Tiho, I am certain of it." And with those words she walked away, Yira in her arms, her guards falling into step around her. The shimmer field rose again, and they vanished from sight. Tiho stood alone in the empty street. His hands were shaking, his heart was pounding. He felt like he had just survived a storm. Slowly he sat down on the curb and took a deep breath, then another, then another. A sound escaped his throat. It might have been a laugh, it might have been a sob, he was not sure which. He had met the queen of an alien empire. He had held her daughter's hand. He had refused her reward, and somehow, against all logic, he had survived. He thought of Yira's golden eyes, full of fear and hope. He thought of the queen's unexpected smile. Then he thought of Hana, waiting for him to come home. Tiho stood up, brushed off his pants and started walking. He was late getting back to work. His boss would be angry, but for some reason Tiho did not care. Today he had done something good, something that mattered, and that was worth more than any reward. As he walked, he did not notice the small device that fell from his bag. A tiny silver disc, no bigger than a coin, placed there by the queen's subtle touch. It blinked once with a soft blue light, then went dark. The queen had said they would meet again. She intended to keep that promise. 1 month passed. Tiho did not forget what happened that day, but he tried not to think about it too much. Life went on. He worked at the shop, raised his daughter, paid his bills. The strange encounter with the dragon princess felt more like a dream with each passing day. But then strange things began to happen. It started with the shop. One morning, a well-dressed man walked in with a broken hoverbike. It was an expensive model, the kind that cost more than Tiho earned in a year. The man said his regular mechanic had recommended Tiho by name. Tiho fixed the bike. The man paid 3 times the normal price without blinking. A week later, he came back with another machine, then another. Soon, he was sending his friends too. Within a month, the small mechanic shop that used to struggle for customers was now booked solid for weeks ahead. Off-world clients started appearing, aliens from species Tiho had never even seen before. They all asked for him by name. They all paid generously. They all said the same thing: "We heard you are a man of quality." Tiho did not understand it. He was just a simple mechanic. Nothing had changed about his work, but the money kept coming. Then came the letter. It arrived on a rainy afternoon, delivered by a man in a suit who asked Tiho to sign 3 forms before handing over the envelope. Inside was a document on fancy paper with gold writing. It said that Park Hana had been awarded a full scholarship to the Seoul Advanced Academy, one of the best schools in the country. All fees paid, all supplies provided, transportation included. Tiho read the letter 5 times. He called the school to check if it was real. It was. "We are honored to have your daughter join us," the school administrator said. "Her sponsor requested that she receive the best education available." "Her sponsor?" Tiho asked. "Who is her sponsor?" "I am sorry, Mr. Park. The sponsor wished to remain anonymous." That night, Tiho sat in his small kitchen and stared at the letter. Hana was asleep in her room, dreaming happy dreams. She did not know yet that her life was about to change. Tiho knew who the sponsor was. He was not stupid, but he did not know why. He had refused the queen's reward. He had asked for nothing but his daughter's safety. Why was she doing this? Far away, in the Dravari Imperial Palace, Queen Velhari sat on her throne and watched a holographic projection of a small mechanic shop on a distant planet called Earth. She had been watching for a month now. Every day, for at least an hour, she observed the human named Park Tiho. She watched him work, watched him walk his daughter to school, watched him cook simple meals in his tiny kitchen. She could not explain why she was so fascinated. He was not special. He had no power, no status, no wealth. By Dravari standards, he was nothing. And yet, "Your Majesty," said a voice from behind her, "the council grows impatient. They demand to know why you humbled yourself before a human. There are whispers of weakness." Velhari did not turn around. She knew who spoke. General Kashra, commander of the Imperial Fleet, a powerful warrior and a dangerous politician. He had served her loyally for decades, but lately there was something different in his eyes. "Let them whisper," Velhari said calmly. "With respect, Your Majesty, this is not a matter to dismiss. Your kneeling was witnessed by dozens. The story has spread. Some say the Queen has gone soft, others say worse." Now Velhari turned. Her golden eyes were cold. "And what do you say, General?" Kashra met her gaze without flinching. "I say nothing, Your Majesty. I am loyal to the throne, but I would be failing in my duty if I did not warn you. There are those who would use this against you." Velhari stood slowly. She was taller than Kashra, her crown adding to her height. She walked past him to the window and looked out at the stars. "Do you know what I saw on Earth, General? What I truly saw? A human who got lucky." "No," Velhari's voice was quiet but firm. "I saw something we have forgotten, something we have trained ourselves to despise." She paused. "I saw strength without cruelty, power without coldness. I saw a man who gave his only meal to a stranger's child, not for gain or glory, but simply because it was right." Kashra made a scoffing sound. "Sentimentality, a weakness of lesser species." "Is it?" Velhari turned to face him. "Tell me, General, when was the last time you showed kindness to someone who could not repay you? When was the last time you helped someone simply because they needed help?" Kashra was silent. "We have built an empire on strength and fear," Velhari continued. "We have conquered worlds and crushed enemies and claimed glory. But what have we lost along the way? What have we become?" She walked back to her throne and sat down. "That human reminded me of something I had forgotten, something I should have taught my daughter years ago. Kindness is not weakness. Compassion is not foolishness. Sometimes, the smallest act of care can carry more power than the mightiest weapon. Kashra bowed stiffly. As you say, Your Majesty, but the Council will not be satisfied with philosophy. They want action. They want to know where the Empire is heading. Then tell them this, Velhari said. The Empire is heading toward something new, something better, and if they do not like it, they can challenge me for the throne. Kashra's eyes widened. Such a challenge was sacred, ancient, almost never invoked. The Queen was essentially daring anyone who disagreed to fight her to the death. That will not be necessary, Your Majesty, he said carefully. I will deliver your message. He left quickly, his footsteps echoing in the empty hall. Velhari sighed and turned back to the holographic projection. The human was reading a bedtime story to his daughter, his face soft with love. Yira, she called out. From a side chamber, the young princess emerged. She had grown taller in the past month, her horn buds now clearly visible, her wings starting to spread with more confidence. But her eyes were the same as they had been that day in the park, bright, curious, searching. Yes, mother. Velhari patted the arm of her throne. Come, sit with me. Yira hesitated. This was not normal. The Queen did not invite people to sit beside her, not even family. But she walked forward and climbed up onto the wide throne, settling next to her mother. For a long moment, they sat in silence together, watching the projection. That is the man who helped me, Yira said quietly. Park Tiho. Yes. You have been watching him every day. Yes. Yira looked up at her mother. Why? Velhari was quiet for a moment. Then she did something she had not done in decades. She put her arm around her daughter and pulled her close. Because he taught me something important, she said. Something I should have understood long ago, and I am trying to learn. Yira leaned into her mother's embrace, her eyes wide with wonder. Mother, she said after a while. Yes. I have been learning Korean with my tutors. I want to speak it well. Velhari smiled. It was a rare expression on her face, almost forgotten. That is good. Why do you want to learn? Yira looked at the projection, at the human father holding his sleeping daughter. Because someday I want to thank him properly, in his own language. I want to tell him that he changed my life. Velhari held her daughter tighter. He changed more than your life, my child. He may have changed the future of our entire empire. She looked out at the stars, thinking of the council, of Kashra, of all the forces that wanted things to stay the same. A storm was coming. She could feel it building. But for the first time in centuries, Queen Velhari of the Dravari Empire was not afraid. She had seen what true strength looked like. And it looked like a tired human man, sharing his sandwich with a crying child. 6 months after the day in the park, the galaxy changed forever. It started with a coup. General Kashra and his followers moved against Queen Velhari in the dark hours of the imperial night. They seized the communication centers, blocked the gates, and surrounded the throne room with loyal soldiers. But they underestimated their queen. Velhari had suspected treachery for weeks. She had prepared. When Kashra's troops broke through the palace doors, they found an empty throne. The queen and princess had vanished into the hidden passages that ran beneath the imperial palace, passages that only the royal bloodline knew. For 3 days, Velhari and Yira ran. They moved from safe house to safe house, always one step ahead of Kashra's hunters. But the general was clever and ruthless. He controlled the fleet, the communications, and most of the military. Velhari's loyal forces were scattered and trapped. Finally, with nowhere left to turn, the queen made an impossible decision. She reached out to the one person in the galaxy she trusted completely, a human who had never asked for anything, a father who had shown her daughter kindness when no one else would. The message reached Tiho's shop at midnight. He was working late, fixing an old engine that refused to cooperate. Hana was sleeping at a neighbor's house. The shop was quiet except for the hum of tools and the distant sound of traffic. Then his communicator beeped with an unknown signal. Tiho almost ignored it. Unknown signals usually meant scammers or wrong numbers, but something made him answer. A holographic image appeared above his workbench. It was Queen Velhari, but she looked different. Her crown was gone. Her scales were dull with exhaustion, and behind her, clutching her hand, stood Yira, her golden eyes wide with fear. "Park Tiho," the queen said. Her voice was rough, tired. "I know I have no right to ask this, but I have nowhere else to go." Tiho stared at the image. His heart began to pound. "My throne has been taken," Velhari continued. "My people have been turned against me. The one who stole my crown plans to attack your world. He believes humanity is weak, easy prey." She paused, taking a shaky breath. "I need somewhere to hide, somewhere safe, somewhere he will not think to look." "Why me?" Tiho asked. His voice came out as a whisper. Velhari's golden eyes met his through the hologram. "Because 6 months ago you showed kindness to a crying child. You expected nothing in return. You proved that strength and compassion can exist together." She lowered her head. "I have no one else I can trust. Please, Park Tiho, help us." Tiho looked at the queen, brought low by betrayal. He looked at Yira, the little dragon girl he had shared his sandwich with. He thought of Hana, of what he would want someone to do if his daughter was in danger. There was only one answer he could give. "Tell me where you are," he said. "I will come get you." 3 hours later, Tiho's small apartment held the strangest guests it had ever seen. Queen Velhari sat on his old couch, looking out of place but somehow at peace. Yira had fallen asleep in Hana's bed, exhausted from days of running. And Hana herself sat on the floor, eyes wide, staring at the alien queen in her living room. "Dad," she whispered, "is she really a queen, like in the stories?" "Yes," Tiho said, sitting beside her, "she is." "Is she nice?" Tiho looked at Velhari, who was watching them with soft eyes. "She is learning to be," he said. For 3 days, they lived together in that tiny apartment. Tiho cooked simple meals for everyone. Hana and Yira played together, laughing despite the language barrier. And Velhari watched it all with wonder, seeing human life up close for the first time. She helped wash dishes, something she had never done in 300 years. She read human children's books to Yira and Hana, struggling with the Korean words while the girls giggled at her accent. She sat with Tiho in the evening, drinking tea and talking about their worlds, their losses, their hopes. On the second night, she asked him a question. "Why did you agree to help us? You could be killed. You gain nothing from this." Tiho was quiet for a moment. He looked at the sleeping children, at the old walls of his apartment, at the photographs of his late wife that still hung in every room. "When I was young," he said, "my father taught me something. He said that being human is not about what you can take, it is about what you can give. When someone is in trouble, you help them. When someone is running scared, you offer shelter. That is not special, that is just human." Velhari stared at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, tears began to fall from her golden eyes. It was the first time she had cried in over 200 years. "I have ruled an empire," she said, her voice breaking. "I have commanded fleets and conquered worlds, but I never learned what you just said. I never understood." She wiped her eyes with hands that shook. "Your people have something my people have lost, something precious, and I was too blind to see it." Tiho reached out and placed his hand over hers. "It is not too late to learn." On the third day, Velhari's loyal forces finally made contact. They had regrouped in the outer systems, gathering strength, waiting for her signal. With the information Tiho helped her send, they coordinated a counterattack. The battle was swift and brutal. Kashra, overconfident in his victory, had not expected the queen to fight back so quickly. His forces crumbled. His supporters surrendered. By the end of the week, Velhari sat on her throne once more. But she was not the same queen who had lost it. She returned to her empire with new ideas, new laws. She created schools that taught compassion alongside combat. She built programs that helped the weak instead of crushing them. She spoke of humanity not as a soft, foolish species, but as an example to follow. They have something we do not, she told her council. A strength that does not come from weapons or power. It comes from their hearts, from their willingness to help strangers, to show kindness without reward, to love without condition. That is the strength that will last. That is the strength we must learn. Not everyone agreed. Some called her weak. Some plotted against her. But most, seeing the changes she made, began to understand. The empire did not fall. It grew stronger. Different but stronger. Years passed. Yira grew into a young diplomat, fluent in Korean, dedicated to building bridges between worlds. She visited Earth often, always stopping at a small mechanic shop in Neo-Seoul. Hana grew too, eventually studying at the academy her mysterious sponsor had paid for. She became a scientist, working on projects that brought humans and Dravari together. And Tiho, he never changed. He still ran his shop, still made sandwiches, still walked his daughter to school even after she was old enough to go alone. He refused every title and honor that Velhari tried to give him. He did not want to be famous. He just wanted to be a good father. But across the galaxy, his story was known. In Dravari schools, children learned about the sandwich. They studied how one tired human man, with nothing but a simple meal and a kind heart, changed the course of an empire. They learned that strength was not about destroying others, but about lifting them up. And every year, on the anniversary of that day in the park, Queen Velhari sent a message to a small apartment in Neo-Seoul. It said the same thing every time. Thank you, Park Tiho, for reminding us what we forgot, for showing us who we could be, for teaching an empire the meaning of kindness. You thought you were just helping a crying child, but you saved us all. Tiho would read the message, smile, and put it with the others in a box by his bed. Then he would go make breakfast for his daughter, just like any other day. Because that was what fathers did. That was what humans did. And that was enough. In a galaxy that respected only power, humanity offered something rarer, something precious, something that could not be conquered or bought or stolen. They offered grace. And the universe was never the same.